Oh, wow. Was I mute this whole time? I'm so sorry, guys. That was horrible. I just realized I was mute for the first 2 minutes of this stream. My bad. This is terrible start on a new stream chat. You didn't even tell me. Anyway, okay, I will start again. Hey, and thanks for having me. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we're going to do the show a bit quicker now. Ben is not here and won't be here till the end of the year. And I'm just going to, fly this show solo. Yeah, fantastic start. No? Anyway, so with top funding news of the week is these rounds from a company called Aescpae. I know I didn't say that right. Aescpae is a technology company fully or data-driven massage therapy experiences. It's not exactly sports tech, but the reason I include it is because there are some sports investors, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is that things like this, massage therapy and recovery, is getting closer and closer, more important to athletes, right? It's becoming quite a topic, recovery. So here's a company that is spending a lot of money or has raised a lot of money and therefore will spend a lot of money. Is what am I saying? Aescpae, Jesus, Aescpae with a 30 million Series A round. That one's done. Bad start to the show, but I'm going to bring it back home. Next up is Arcturus, Arcturus, raised 11 million. Arcturus helps provide volume. So 3D imaging for video, basically help you create your hologram, your digital avatar, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, this is another company that's not exactly in sports tech, but works alongside sports tech. So maybe an interesting space also. That is number 3 is Binance invests $4 million in Paris-based. I'm just reading the headline now. Okay, I can do better than that. It's a fantasy gaming startup called Ultimate Champions. As you can see from the image, it's fantasy soccer. Come on, Wolf. Yeah, tell me how your team has been doing. I'm super interested to know who you're supporting and how they're doing. My team has had a good start. If I was playing World Cup Fantasy, which I'm definitely not, I would have been doing good. But if you're interested in Web3 football, then this is a good place. Ultimate Champions, it is 4 million from Binance Labs. Yeah, it's trying to bring Web3 sports gaming to a wider audience. It's a free-to-play fantasy sports platform. All right, so that is the first batch of news. Second batch is actually, usually we don't do partnership stories on this show, but I wanted to give a shout out to this one. This is the NFLPA announced a partnership with BreakAway Data. BreakAway Data was founded by two guys. I think it's Dave Anderson. I'm not sure. Dave Anderson, I believe, and Steve Guerra. Steve was a professor of mine when I did my MBA about 5 years ago. And Steve is a really, really smart guy, very interesting. He comes from, there it is, a former NFL player, Dave Anderson, and former NFL coach, Steve Guerra. Steve is also an he was in the military, he is in the American military. He's coached in a couple of NFL teams and also worked in their innovation, let's say, strategy department. So super interesting guy. They set up this company called BreakAway Data. BreakAway tries, what they say is they try to put the power of data back in the hands of the athletes. So everything is functioning of athlete data, and they try to athletes to own their own data. What does that mean? My understanding, I haven't seen the solution up close. My understanding is that basically it acts as a data aggregator platform. So pulling in data from a bunch of different sources, whether it's your wearable device, which you're using, or other forms of biometric tracking, whether it's your activity data, you might have a GPS sensor or some other sort of tracker which is related to the athlete, sleep data, health and recovery, like whatever it is, any sort of data that the team any sort of data aggregation platform that a team is using, to gather data about the athlete. BreakAway is working with all of those, presenting a single system so every athlete can go into that system to take away whatever data they want, right? So whether it wants, you want to talk about diet and nutrition, you want to talk about sleep, you want to talk about any specific topic, BreakAway will help you with that. So they just announced a partnership with the NFLPA. Both the guys have obviously close links to the NFL. Really interesting company, and I think that they're on a good track. They have announced partnerships previously with the XFL. The article, it says WNBA, XFL, and Athletes Unlimited, and Power Five. So there are a few, and some college programs, Boston and UCLA. So they're already working in the space. They've got a bunch of really good people, names that I know from the industry, working with them. And big news that they announced recently. All right, speaking of another recent announcement, on the Australian Open this week, end of last week actually, announced that they are going to start working with startups. The program that they've got called AO Startups. So this is part of Tennis Australia's innovation program. So Tennis Australia has been doing some interesting stuff. They already launched, I think it's Wildcard Ventures, which is their venture capital fund to invest in tennis tech. Now they also work with the program in the Texas Sports program based out of Melbourne, and now they've got their own program, AO Startups. So it is their step in their innovation program and cutting edge technology, but performance analysis, fan engagement, media entertainment, all the standard topics. The most important thing is, and this is in excerpts from Marsha Reed, Dr. Marsha Reed, somebody that we know well. So they're looking for all sorts of topics: AI, VR, blockchain tech, sensors, wearables, whatever you're doing. If you have a tennis-related solution, you should be looking at this program. They're asking for applications to come in by the 14th of December, so not too long left. They will start their program in January 2023. So this is the actual page. That was the press release. Turbocharger startup at it's AusOpen.com. Make sure to give it a look. All right, that is a big announcement from a fund, another fund that we know has been active in the space for a while, KB Partners. They announced their second iteration, or basically Fund II. It's a $100 million fund. And they've already closed 64 million of it. Now, the reason I paused there is because I read a few different articles. Somewhere it said 127. Their official press release says 100, so they're going to go with that, right? They have been busy this year. They've made, not 16 investments in total across Fund 1, but that's not just in this year. But I know that they have been busy in 2022. By the way, I can't believe it. I haven't mentioned it yet. This is super relevant. We just launched our own SportsTech VC report. The latest version of it just went live. I was just sorting out that work like half an hour before I jumped on the stream. Busy times for us at SportsTech. We are presenting some big numbers in 22. 21 was a huge year, nearly $12 billion. I think 11.7 it ended at. 22 has already crossed 7 billion. Is on track to do 10. So another big year for sports tech, big funds like this. We've seen so many announcements. Will Ventures announced the second fund, which is about 150 million. Who do we have? Dick's Sporting Goods announced, I think it was a 50 million fund. Will Ventures also had a separate partnership with PGA Tour. I think Elysian Park announced their fund too, also early this year. So a lot of funds have either come in or just announced a second bigger fund, which is a huge endorsement for what is happening in the space. Big numbers fueling all this growth. Yeah, shout out to the guys at KB, Keith and Lance. Yeah, just great guys, good to work with. And if you're interested, you should be in touch. If you're raising money, you should be in touch. They're based out of Chicago in the US. Very nice picture of all of the very dapper. All right, my top story, and I want to spend a couple of minutes here. Looking for my number one spot, and boom, this one came in. Apple is apparently interested in buying Manchester United. What? Interesting. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. So the Glazers announced last week that they would basically put up the club for sale. Actually, earlier this week, that they put up the club for sale. Yeah, this follows on after I don't know how many months, probably years of bad press for the Glazers. As a United fan, I cannot wait for the day that they hand over the keys to the club to somebody else. It's about friggin' time. All right. But just before that, Liverpool, FSG had announced that Liverpool were up for sale. In the summer, we had Chelsea go up for sale, right? That was an emergency. Roman Abramovich, I don't want to go into details, but basically, Chelsea went for a price of about $4 billion. I think it was $2.5 billion or nearly $3 billion was the base price. And then there was a promised investment of another $1.5 billion. So somewhere between $4 and $4.5 billion is what Chelsea went for. FSG were privately shopping apparently, and then they went public with the announcement. And it feels like the Glazers earlier in this week tried to piggyback on that and said, hey, we don't want FSG to grab all the headlines. Buyers should know that we are out there. And I've been reading reports that the Glazers have been shopping United privately for a while. So it almost like this public, there was a race to go public with this news just to attract more attention. And maybe this might have paid off for Man United. By the way, I have to say this could be a rumor. This has been picked up by the Daily Star. Reasonable credibility. I don't know how you feel about them. But it has got picked up a lot. This literally broke like 2 hours ago. It's got picked up by a lot of mainstream media publications, as you'd imagine. This is pretty big news. Why this is especially interesting is also because Apple has consistently been investing in sports. Yeah, we saw them they start with streaming, right? They've invested in fitness, going way back. They invested in fitness applications, Apple Plus. So fitness, they were strengthening their hooks. They invested in streaming, buying some rights to stream the MLB. Then they went in with a big partnership with the MLS. And now there is talk linking them to buying arguably the richest club in the world. I don't know. This might be PR from the Glazers, might be just a bit of nonsense, or this could be real. We've been talking about this for a while. We have seen this trend of big tech coming into sports tech. Yeah. Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google, Netflix, the FANGs, all these guys increasing their investments in sports because it's clearly that they feel like sports is this frontier that they want to really go all in on. Now, does it make sense for any of them to buy a sports team? Let's see what the article says. Blah, 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 blah. Apple have the money. Close. Yeah. It says they have opportunities with the sale involved in the sale of Manchester United. Really make it in. I had to crack that joke. Excuse me. But Rain Group will be involved, and I've read this in all those. Apple and Tim Cook specifically is interested in building a state-of-the-art stadium. They really want to invest in it. The Glazers have set an asking price of $8.25 billion, which just sounds ridiculous. Forget the current market. That's worth that. Publicly listed United's value on the NYSE is $2.5 billion. Okay. Also, I'm just saying, like, look at the other news I'm getting. Not the most credible space, but if Apple were to, I mean, the Saudis, Qataris, the Abu Dhabi, the state-owned football clubs in the world surely can't compete. I don't know. It would be something. Anyway, this is the big news of the week. I've gone on a bit longer than I wanted to, but here I couldn't help talk about this story. It is super interesting to me why a Apple or somebody like them would come into sports. Why would they buy one team? I understand them buying rights for a league and them getting into streaming, but why would they buy one sports team? Maybe it's an experiment, but it can't be. It can't be with something so big. If Apple was to buy sports teams, they would surely go somewhere, experiment with maybe a smaller club, try to figure out what they're doing. No, they want to go all in and go big bang. If this news is credible, but let's see. Anyway, that is my top story of the week. As always, our handles on Twitter, LinkedIn. Follow us for all our news. Take a look especially at our latest report, the SportsTech VC report, which will summarize all the investment numbers. All right, that's a wrap for today's episode, and I'll see